Yeah, tell me.
Well, we're still waiting for 100,000.
Yeah, well,
It became elusive, but
only because of the thousands of other cryptocurrencies on the market. I mean, at the end of the day, if I was actually having this conversation yesterday, imagine if they didn't have the Pepes and the dog whiff and the balls, hairs, and all these different things. Imagine if they didn't have that.
it's all contributed.
And it has contributed
I mean,
positively and negatively, yes.
The
agreed.
point is, it's like having just, you go into a restaurant and there's just one burger and there's nothing else.
Right, yeah.
The point is, the stuff that's not that good is what makes the real good stuff. I tell you, in your restaurant business, I mean, there are items on your menu that you know may interest a couple people, and that's what it is. Pepe interests some people. I mean, there's, you know what's happening with Ripple. I mean, and I've told people are like, Ripple, and you're seeing some of these podcasts now, Ripple 25, and that's kind of when, you've reached the top. When, in the old days, when the taxis and the hairdressers talking about it, when your hairdresser giving you a stock tip, hey, did you buy this or did you buy that? Your taxis. Because that's when it's completely filtered. It's gone through every sinew of society. So now, I mean, if you go on Instagram, I don't spend a lot of time on Instagram. It's my toilet time. That's when I go on Instagram. So guys know when I send them reels, they know what's happening, right?
Yeah.
They know I only can, right? But now and you sit there, and I actually responded. There's no point responding to these guys. But he said, and with a straight face, right, talking to people and talking about a Ripple $20,000 to $25,000, which will be the equivalent of a $6.7 quadrillion market cap.
So that is the global the entire financial market multiplied by
infinity.
Yeah.
Right? 6.7 quadrillion. I mean,
he said 25,000 per
and giving you a use case, telling you why it's going to happen. And JP Morgan has done this, and American Express has done that. And I'm saying it again to all the Ripple holders out there. Good for you, right? Because this thing may go full retard to $10, $15, $20. Who the hell knows? The Ripple protocol, fantastic. It's an amazing payment layer,
speedy,
right?
Very speedy.
Right? But all of the tokenomics of Ripple sucks. The XRP token does not represent Ripple and Ripple Labs. Right? So, and that's why Jed McCaleb and those guys left. They formed Stellar Lumens and others. Right? Because the reality is the tokenomics sucks. So whilst the technology is fantastic, the money is not going to the Ripple token holders. Right? It's not going to the token holder. I'm getting a call from my wife. It's not going to the token holders. It's going to the Ripple Foundation. So right now, there's all this hype around XRP, but they're not separating XRP from Ripple. Right? Now, if the tokenomics changes and they change that smart contract, well then, but right now, I think, and that's why Jed left, I think it was like 3 or 4% goes to the token holders.
Of Ripple Labs.
Right? So it's great. The technology is amazing.
But it's a little skewed.
Yeah, but it's just the tokenomics sucks.
The reward mechanism.
Right? So the reward mechanism sucks. So people think that as an XRP token holder, you get the benefits of Ripple. And
so if Ripple becomes a global intermediary, which it is now, the
Ripple Foundation.
The Ripple Foundation makes money.
Great,
and the token goes up by way of demand only, really.
Yeah, it goes up by way of error. Guys thinking.
Well, yeah.
American Express signed on, MasterCard signed on, JP Morgan signed on.
Don't you need I think that you need XRP to, well, I don't know if you need XRP to utilize an XRP blockchain.
Is centralized.
Because it's totally centralized.
XRP is centralized.
Isn't XRP an ERC20 token?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Well then, so it's on Ethereum anyway.
Right, but the point is, there's a central authority with Ripple.
Yeah.
Ripple is not a cryptocurrency, right? And God knows what's happening in the foundation. Maybe Jamie Dimon and who I call Ikwensu Ocha, right? White Devil. Maybe those guys are part of the foundation.
Possible.
Who knows? So, and as I told guys in our groups, I said, listen, this thing may retard to $5 or $6, so I'm not going to tell you not to buy it. But Ripple, again, great technology, shit token. Yeah. And as I told someone yesterday, no respectable blockchain entrepreneur holds Ripple in size.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
in size. You may buy 50,000 tokens for shits and giggles. Right?
Yeah.
There really is.
Now that might be a little out of reach for many, but
Yeah, well,
a
it's
little
buck
sizable.
$1.50. What is it? 250.
250. Yeah, or 230. But fluctuating,
Right,
of
and
course.
it was
But
45 cents or 50 cents.
just the other day.
Well, so. I mean, look at Justin Sun's. Tron has woken up.
Tron, yeah, that's true.
Right? And quite frankly, now if anyone's listening out there and wants to throw some money into cryptocurrency, look at some of those legacy names, the old blue chip names. They're going to wake up. Tezos, EOS, Tron. We've seen it happening with Tron.
ADA has moved.
Well, ADA has moved, but ADA still has maintained itself in the top 10, even doing the worst of it. Charles does a great job of marketing his token.
Of course.
Right? And there is utility, of course, with ADA, but I just don't know. I mean, ADA is like that prom queen who never arrives, right? You're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
I remember talking to Charles in 2018. Well, hearing Charles speak in 2018 about ADA and Cardano and IOHK and all the things that they were doing. And it is great stuff. I think Cardano just achieved, 2 billion transactions per second or something to that effect. I mean, that's impressive.
I mean, a lot of the guys in the space have said that a lot of things he said is bullshit, but who knows? And that's why the token never really moved.
Right.
Obviously, it's moved now, but I mean, high tide rises everything.
Yeah,
But,
true.
I mean, the Ether Classics, the Moneros, I mean, the coins that big names long ago.
We're around
right?
16, 17, 18.
Those fellas
era.
now, you're going to see them some Decentraland. So if I'm gonna take a punt, because guys want to punt, right? Guys want to punt 15, 20,000, 25,000, and try and
Or $500 or $1,000,
right? I think some of those tokens are going to start to move because they're in a kind of a valley of people know what they are. They have some respectability with regards to their names. Their tech is pretty good, right? But tech in 2016 and tech in 2024, two different things.
Two completely different.
And that's why, I mean, tomorrow, some of the tokens I'm really strong on now. I love BitTensor. I love Casper. But I just, who knows what's going to happen, in a year's time. The reality is now to know that it is clear now. Bitcoin is the benchmark of money on this planet, right? People ask me, 90s, and I said, cheap. And I said in a group, and I said, listen, yawn. I'm not being arrogant. This is my feeling. If you ask me 200,000, cheap, buy as much as you can. When it's 250,000, it's cheap, buy as much as you can. People have to begin to understand now what Bitcoin is, right? It's not a spec.
No.
It's not buying a stock, right? This is a self-contained asset class.
Yes.
That everything
that represents everything that gold also
Yes.
represents, but for the modern world.
Yes, with so much
digital transportability,
easier.
storability, etc.
It's so frictionless and beautiful and simple. You have $10 million worth of gold. Carry it somewhere.
Yeah. Good luck.
I mean, good luck. Right? You need a truck.
And
right?
even when you get where you're going, to verify that it's
Yes.
real is a whole
And
ordeal.
the security of carrying it, all of those things, right? But understanding now, every single asset on this planet is going to decrease in value against Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And that's why
It
Saylor's
started.
That's why Saylor's doing what he's doing. What he's doing is confounding everybody, because he's floating bonds, borrowing money at 1% and 2% to buy an asset that is delivering 55% year over year. So you're borrowing money at 1% to earn 55%, and essentially, if you understand it, is a completely risk-free enterprise. It's a risk-free investment.
In the long term, yes.
Yeah, okay. But what I'm saying, people still...
Not just that.
Yeah, but people are still thinking about Bitcoin as is a stock. How much shares of Bitcoin you have, people still ask me. Yeah, they don't understand, right? So Saylor is doing this, and then in turn, buying it from MicroStrategy, and in turn, MicroStrategy's stock is going up.
Yeah.
And he's borrowing more money against the increase in his stock to buy more Bitcoin.
So he's literally funneling money from Bitcoin into buying more Bitcoin.
Into MicroStrategy to buy more Bitcoin. And as it continues to go up, and he's building the hype around it, and it's not just hype. It's real.
Yeah.
So he has this, it's almost like a garden that every single day he's watering this garden with magic water. And these orange, beautiful specks of grass are growing every single day. And people are saying it's got to end. It's not going to end. Bitcoin has finally accomplished, in the post-Bretton Woods area, what money is supposed to be. And anybody who doesn't own Bitcoin has a hole in their head. And as I've told you before, there are 21 million Bitcoin on this planet. And Jamie Dimon, that prick, comes out and says, well, who knows when that time comes, they're going to, yeah, all right, fuck off, Jamie, right? And I mean that without respect, right? And all the guys that tout for Jamie, listen, Jamie's done great things in that sordid, decrepit, sinister world
of Wall Street,
of Bretton Woods finance and Wall Street, right? So, good for you, right? But to come now and say that with a straight face, while, remember, when JP Morgan was decrying Bitcoin, they were buying Bitcoin.
Their portfolio managers were
right.
buying.
They put what's the name again? Blythe Masters.
Right.
That was his Red Baron. That was his number one, right? And they formed Digital Asset Management, whatever the case may be. They were buying it. So they were same thing they do all the time. Right? JP Morgan downgrades Nokia, or they downgrade Motorola. I remember once Goldman Sachs. I had this argument, right? Show you how bad these people are. And I despise them. They are anathema to the human race. So Goldman Sachs has obviously multiple different divisions: the investment division, the merchant banking division, and so on. So the investment division of Goldman Sachs put a sell rating and a target of 0, a price target of 0 on Nokia. This is about 15 years ago, right?
That'll hurt anybody.
At the same time, Goldman Sachs was raising money on behalf of Nokia, raising money from pension funds and national endowment funds and so on. So when they asked them, they said, hang on a second. This part of your business is raising money from pension funds and from people to put into Nokia, because Nokia needed to raise money. It's like floating a bond. And this part of your business came out and said, we have a sell rating and a price target of 0 on Nokia. And their response was, well, there's a Chinese wall. This division and this division, we don't really communicate. Because under federal law, you're not supposed to. Right? But so they're taking money from you and your grandmother, who has a pension fund, like what happened in 2008, right?
Yeah.
When they went and sold these collateralized debt obligations, these packages of dog shit, right, to all these decent people who worked hard for a living, knowing full well it was utter garbage.
While they were selling it.
And then going and selling it to them, packaging with them, who the rating agencies like S&P, and they are still in business. They got called out for rating this pig A rating when it really was a barrel of dog shit, right? And the movie said it. Remember the movie, The Big Short? Right? Yeah. That if they didn't give the ratings, they wouldn't get the business. So, just so you can understand the fuckery that happens in that world.
It's completely manipulated.
At
every angle. It's not just that they play one angle. They play every angle possible.
I'll give it to you better. They manipulate the manipulation. That's how bad they are. They're all sick. It's like Hollywood. It's all a demonic entity, right? So they sat there and they sold these things knowing full. They were like, you know what? Fuck, just get it off my hands. Get it off my hands. Yeah. Make my commission. And schools and pensions and endowment funds in Norway and all sorts of. What is it? This is graded A+ by S&P, right? Capital guaranteed, and they put their money in, right? And they got hosed. That's who you're dealing with. So Bitcoin has come along now as a shining knight that's come and says, you know what? We've had enough. Bitcoin, have had enough, and I've put this there, this shining castle in the sky that is impenetrable, it's unhackable, it is deflationary. It grows in value against every single asset on this planet. Diamonds, gold, land, everything. Maybe not arable land, because humans have to eat. I mean, apart from that, and you ask yourself the question, why has Bill Gates been buying up the most farmland in America in the last 5 or 10 years, right? Because the reality is, they make us stupid. Go and do some high-frequency trading and get up a merit trade, and you take it, I made 1,200 today, I made 3%, and it's nonsense. Keep you, right? Yeah. Bitcoin has come along now and said, listen, like Trump, the adults are in charge now. It took a long time. It took a long time for guys to wake up to it. And now, the Scaramucci's and the Kevin O'Leary's, they're all now sages about Bitcoin. Isn't it fucking amazing?
Yeah, it is.
And 7 years ago, they were like, riding the Charlie Munger coattails, and because they had no opinion.
Yeah.
They understand this little bubble that they live in. That's all they know. So now Bitcoin has come to liberate the world. To liberate the world, right? And like I said, 21 million Bitcoin, and there are 58 million millionaires on the planet.
Right.
There's not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire to own one.
So every millionaire.
There's not enough. So, and what happens in 2034? 99%.
Yeah, just over 99% of the Bitcoin.
Right. So you're
will
still
be
mining
mined.
some. How are you going to get a Bitcoin?
You have to rip it from somebody's
Correct.
hands.
You have to pull it out of my hands. Or catch me in a position where I'm so weak that I have to sell it.
Yeah.
Right? Understand the pricing power. That's the only way. You can't find it. You can't dig and go. You can't buy 2 caterpillars and go and dig in South Africa and find it. It's done.
No.
It's finished. You want one? Get it from me. I want to pay you 100,000. You crazy? Nothing less than 500,000. We set the price.
Yeah, at that point especially.
Yes.
But now, yes, but there is obviously wiggle room with the avenues of sell pressure. But do you remember when there was the fake article about Trinidad buying 500 million US in Bitcoin or some outrageous thing like that?
Yeah, I called him out.
And
Imbert.
Colin Imbert came out and said that's not true, which is fine. It wasn't true. But have you ever done the maths?
Hang on a sec. You're being far too kind to Imbert. He didn't say, well, that's not true. He beat his chest and said, I would not be such a fool. And the nonsense that is being spoken out there, I would not be such a fool or be so irresponsible to do that. No. So it wasn't just, no, I'm not. I mean, the fact of the matter, other countries were buying Bitcoin.
What year was that?
We were dealing with the central bank trying to do what's happening now. I know Mark Pereira is doing some work with, I remember the name of it.
WAM Now.
WAM Now.
Yeah. He just got his license.
Right. So
huge accomplishment.
Yeah. So we were, and I'm really happy for him. And we were trying this 7 years ago.
Quite a milestone.
Yeah, I was trying it 7 years ago. They wanted no part of it. And also because of myself and Mala, right? Imbert didn't want anything to do with it. So you actually take a country and you don't even think about the potential benefits because you personalized it, right? Let's move on. So that would have been 2017. I think Bitcoin, 500,000 US in Bitcoin.
In 2017.
Yeah, probably would have got you about close to 1,000. 800, maybe it was about, yeah, even if it was 1,000 a token.
Yeah, call it 1,000
Yeah,
a
call it
token.
1,000 a token. If it was 500,000.
So it's 500 tokens.
No, it wasn't. Sorry, it was 500 million.
500 million,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
500
it wasn't
million.
500,000.
500 million.
So even if it was 10,000 a token, you're talking about 5,000 tokens. Which today is what? 5,000 tokens would be 500 million. No. Was it 5 billion? I don't even know. So 1,000 a token, so 100 times your money. If it was $1,000 a token.
No, 2017, I think, was $10,000 a token.
It could have been.
Just call it, because I think that was the average for the year.
Yeah,
Was 10,000.
10,000.
It had fluctuated quite a bit.
500 million by 10,000.
Well, you're not going to do the maths on my calculator.
I think it's 5,000 tokens.
Well, 500 million.
500 million. My maths is terrible. One more zero divided by 10,000.
Yeah.
It's probably 5,000, 50,000 tokens.
Multiplied by 100,000.
Yeah, it's 50 billion.
5 billion.
5 billion.
That's quite
Sorry,
the
10
investment.
times. Yeah, 10 times.
10 times the money.
Yeah.
That's quite the investment.
Yeah. So, I mean, and fine, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It's not too late.
No.
I mean, America's now considering a statutory reserve fund.
Yep.
El Salvador, under the advice of Max Geyser.
And the United States are doing
Well,
reserves
it's
federally
yes,
and on a state level.
Yeah, both.
So,
because each state can do it individually.
and they're going to want to.
And
Well, most will.
Who's going to want to miss out?
Especially the low energy states where mining will become part of a thing. They're going to want.
There's still 10 years of mining, yeah?
Yes.
More.
Yes.
I mean, after 2034.
Yes, but that's we're going to need the miners.
And
really.
1% or 1.5%, I think it's 98.4%. So that means there'll still be 230,000 Bitcoin to mine. So guys are still going to, most of your supply is out. 10% is 2.1 million. 1% is 210,000. So there's 200,000 Bitcoin to mine. So mining is not going to stop. It's not going to stop.
Yeah. Not until 2041 anyway.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is states or areas with low energy costs will still continue to mine.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, a lot of the guys who are in it for a bit more spec may say, listen, hash rates are lower. It's going to take a lot longer, so they may be out of it, and the computing power is going to become more competitive as well.
Yes.
So whereas now, if you have a couple of laptops, well set up, you probably could mine maybe half a Bitcoin a month.
Well, less than that.
Yeah,
less
probably
than that.
is right. Yeah. But at that point, when it's probably half 3 more times, your little setup will probably get you
next to nothing.
0.03 Bitcoin in a month.
But then at that time, Bitcoin will be worth.
Will be worth more.
Yeah,
will be worth more.
It's all relative.
And that's the beauty of the system.
That's one of the things I wish I learned, or I wish I figured out early. I started mining Bitcoin back in 2013, and actually before I was mining with, I was helping people and learning these systems in 2012, and then I bought my own machine and my own rig and mine in 2013. And one of the things I look back on now, and I remember mining a fraction of a Bitcoin and thinking to myself, oh man, I wish it was more. I mean, it felt like nothing because Bitcoin wasn't worth anything then. It was a couple $100. I think the average in 2013 was $13. The yearly average was about $13. And it had went up to $500-$600 towards the end of the year. And but man, if I kept mining Bitcoin, it might have been a good decision to make.
Yeah, I mean, obviously hindsight is 2020, right? Yeah. I mean, and the point is, we were all believers, but I mean, at the time too, I mean, you're gonna go, and I mean, it wasn't easy to put $10,000 or $15,000 into Bitcoin when it was 10 cents. I mean, it wasn't easy. Unless you really looked at that white paper and said, listen,
and something struck a chord, because at the end of the day, it was gibberish to a lot of people.
Of course, so you had your Archimedes moment, and said Eureka. I said fuck that. I'm putting it all in, and you have to respect guys that do that, right?
Yeah,
that have said, listen, if you don't think big, if you don't dream big, I mean, Trump has said it too. Right? If you're gonna dream, you may as well dream big.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I agree with that 100%.
And seeing what's happening now with them, right? And you tell yourself, how the hell did this man put together this group of people? How did you get the most? I mean, Musk wants to put people on Mars in 2 years. He wants to in 2 years he's going to send the unmanned, right? And if as he said, if there isn't incremental damage that's done from craters and everything else, 2-3 years after that, they're going to be manned trips to the.
I think he said 2030, I believe.
Right, so 5 years. How does somebody like that
do something like that without dreaming of something like that?
Right? So
absolutely.
You have to. And then how does someone like that then say, okay, which was hugely compelling, right? Because how do you aggregate all these people together to say, if we don't support this guy, who I've said before is flawed, but we're all flawed in God's eyes. We're flawed. Men are flawed. I want to say men and women. Yeah. Human beings are flawed, right? How do you get that team together? What centrifugal force? What pulled everybody in together to say, this is the moment, this is the time that Elon Musk is going to say, you know what? I'm going to lay everything on the line. And the way he thinks, I mean, the guy is a freak. He's a freak. And say, I'm gonna risk everything.
And to make us a multi-planetary species.
Yeah, but also to join with a man like Trump so that those multi-planetary plans and more could actually happen. Yeah. So when you think, and I answered the question to someone, I said, they both dream big.
Correct.
But Trump thinks big, right? Musk dreams big. So you could think big, right? I'm in the restaurant business. I want to have 40 restaurants. I want to go, I want to go to America and compete because I think I can. I know that at Trump's level, Musk's level is nothing, but in my little, right, I want to go there and I want to achieve that.
And have a restaurant in the States.
In New York or Miami.
Right.
And
compete with the big boys.
Compete and be full. And people coming there and say, wow.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not just about making money. Right? It's not just about that. So thinking big. So Trump thinks big in everything that he does, and Musk dreams big. Otherwise, how you think Musk can ever be compatible with Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Barack Obama or George Bush?
I mean, Kamala in her youth, but not necessarily. Well, because
mentally compatible.
Well, no, maybe not mentally compatible. I'm saying that Can I see them working together on something? Sure. That's the type of person I see Elon as.
Yeah, I can see anybody working together, but I mean, you kind of, it beggars belief that this man said, of all the presidents that have been around, I mean, I can actually see myself linking with this guy. Now they're trying to make it look like he's the real president and whatever. Trump is no fool.
Are they saying that?
Yeah, because there was a meme with Musk sitting down behind your Resolute desk.
Right.
And Trump was like, and he was like, what? It's my presidency. And Musk saying
right,
that,
right?
Yeah. So the shit's going to start,
Yeah.
right? But Trump is the 500-pound gorilla in the room, right? There's no Musk. Musk is a super geek, freak of nature brain, right? But Trump is still, as the Italians say, the capi di tutto capi. He's the boss. Because as great as Musk is, the central figure in that whole orbit is Trump.
Well, yeah.
No, so you ask, how did that come together? How did he and Joe Rogan and Vivek, all these guys are already accomplished.
Vivek probably impressed me more than anybody else in the campaign, followed by RFK.
Well, and absolutely RFK, off the wall. How do all these people come? And that's why, as Jordan Peterson said, he says, man, I'm buckled up to see what this presidency brings, right?
You know what? I've worn a lot of hats. I've worked in a lot of industries. I've worked with a lot of different types of people. And one thing I can definitely say for sure is when you have somebody with a clear enough vision, doesn't have to be absolutely crystal clear, but a clear enough vision and conviction and passion to back it, galvanizing people with that is relatively easy for some. I've seen it happen, even with people who aren't necessarily the easiest to get along with.
Yeah.
Which really seals the deal even more, in that if you have someone with a vision, with enough conviction and passion behind it, you can galvanize people to go in that exact direction with you.
But think about history. Most of the people that have really accomplished amazing things have been hard to get along with. This is what it is, right? I mean, the point is, they don't have time. They don't suffer fools. They don't suffer pointless drivel and talk. And sometimes, I mean, when you think the way those guys think, right? Do you have time to sit down and say, how was your day? You're telling yourself every second of my life is important. I put so much tremendous. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, to what you just said, it's like saying, you see that red star? That little dot up in that's where we're going. Now, what I'm saying, that's where we need to go. Then it's the ability to put the people together to say, okay, this is how we're going to get there. Yeah. Right? And that's why the role players.
And it's not just ignoring haters, It's ignoring people who, I guess, have a harder time picking it up and seeing it than others. And which brings me back, you were saying something, and it kind of instantly brought me back to not the Bitcoin white paper, the correspondence between Satoshi Nakamoto and the people that he was communicating with, that were asking questions in whichever Bitcoin or forum or whatever forum it was a part of. I can't remember now. And he said, and I'm going to paraphrase, but he said, if you don't understand it by now, I don't have time to explain it to you
anymore.
And I think it was you put out the energy, you put out the time to educate or inform or guide or align or whatever the case may be. And at some point, you have to let go and say, okay, if people aren't going to see it, you lead a horse to water, at the end of the day.
And not everybody's going to get it.
No.
And not just Bitcoin. Not everyone's going to get it. And that's what it is. But the point is, how do you then, and that leads us back to Trinidad. The point is, how do you get those people who don't get it, right, still have a life that is fulfilling, that is nurturing, and that you could say, in my 60, I mean, there's one shot you get at this thing, right? There's one trip to the rodeo. There's one life you get. You got to make it. You got to make it count. Now, some will make it count by being Musk. Some make it count by being a world leader, a Trump, a Putin. Some may be just huge financial, build huge businesses. Because let me tell you something. Building a business is a lot more than just making money. It's creating opportunity and wealth and value for others too. Yeah. When you have a business with 4 or 5 or 6,000 employees, you may be on a yacht, wherever the case may be. But there are 5,000 people who feeding their children, putting them to school, probably setting themselves up for a better life, coming home to watch Netflix on a flat screen TV in a house that they can afford because of what you've done. right? Not everyone's going to be on a yacht.
Yeah.
Right? And this is this misconception, this hatred. Now, when guys make that money illicitly, and I don't just mean in the underworld. I mean when you make money by manipulating LIBOR and fixing silver prices and doing the things that all these guys are doing, or generally having a system that is designed to screw the people at the bottom.
Predatory.
Right? I have no time for them. And for so long, those have been the guys in the West Wing. Those have been the guys that presidents have called to say, I want you on this committee. Those guys.
Yeah.
What was so amazing with Trump is Trump said, he did a bit at first because he got in there and he was kind of swayed by how things worked in Washington. This time is going to be different. But let's put aside Trump. But the point is, having that level of, and then that's why now guys like Andrew Tate are looked at askance, a millionaire. Andrew Tate pulls up in Monaco with one of his $1 million cars and 3 beautiful broads, right? And he gets out of it with a skin-tight pair of jeans, a leopard skin shoes, and a fitted t-shirt with a cigar in his mouth, and basically says, fuck you. Fuck you and your old money. I don't give a shit. I have 9-figure wealth. And as somebody said, once you cross, I think it was $25 or $30 million, it doesn't really matter.
The access is there.
Once you cross there, well, I have 50 Rolexes and you only have one. Well, but the point is, so he's there and he's looked at. But you know what? I think Andrew Tate is great because he is what he is. And he wears it on his chest. It's like Mike Tyson. Tyson disappointed me badly. I think he's destroyed his legacy. Let me not go there.
We can touch on that for sure.
Destroyed his legacy is what he did. Whatever happened, right? So the point, that's all changing now. Now, guys, it's kind of weird to hear, I can't remember her name, some porn star has made $4 million a month on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
$50 million a year.
Yeah.
Right? And you tell yourself, really, the world is fucked.
Yeah.
The world. I'm not against you
doing whatever you want. That's fine. But I actually have a theory on that where I think that those figures that are made and the platforms that allow for that amount of revenue to be made off of what we would call, again, I'm not saying, but what we would call degeneracy of some sort, if I am to be old-fashioned. But I think that I think it's part of that. I think it's to push a degeneracy agenda. Yeah. And to reward people for that, and so that people say, "Ooh, I'm going to do that too," and then you have a system that is.
Well, I think you're partially
difficult
right.
to manage.
I think it's to create a society of depraved, sexually deviant non-producers. That's the plan. The plan ultimately is stay home, consume, watch porn till you're blue in the face, play, was it Glory, the shooting game,
Call of Duty,
and just fuck off,
yeah.
and let us do our thing.
That's
what it is. You could, on the tip of your fingers, I've experienced porn, obviously, as a man growing up, but I've never, ever, as whatever I want to swear on, I've never been on or seen how OnlyFans works.
Me neither.
But I understand that this is basically you subscribe. I have my OnlyFans
to
page.
Access for somebody's profile.
And I can pay at different levels.
For different access.
Right? And I think this girl who, I can't remember, her name is in the news. She has a $25,000 or $30,000, right?
Tier.
And that means you can book a private session where she does her thing with you. So I booked Friday 7:00. She's, hey Peter, how are you?
I did not even know that was part of it.
So,
but it makes perfect sense.
The levels that you can do now, and obviously, I have a private. I say, listen, I think you're awesome. Everything else, I'm a millionaire. Whatever. I'm going to send you my jet to pick you up and give you $50,000. I want to spend the night with you. All right? Now, it's not prostitution. It's not. It's a consensual agreement with two adults.
Yeah.
So she's there now making
contractually, because it's part of the OnlyFans platform,
right? And they're probably going to get and they're
getting a cut,
and he's thrilled because this girl, Sophie Rain, that's her name.
Oh right, okay, I saw it on Twitter. Yeah.
So she now They're thrilled because it's the $25,000 that she charges to probably 15, 20. And I'm not knocking them. If that guy or girl could afford it, great.
Yeah.
But the point is, there are people who are building bridges and laying underground fiber optic cable that makes our life work.
Yeah.
And are ironmongers building big, huge screws to build these massive buildings and elevators and pulleys, making $100,000 a year,
If so much.
whatever it is, right? And will retire at 65 with a $250,000 pension, right? And live out their days walking on the Santa Monica Pier with their grandkids, hopefully. And okay, respectable. But you have someone that goes and shows her ass.
Making 50 million. But it just, again, that's why I think it's pushed. I think it's pushed because that's what they want to proliferate that. And so if people are making tens of millions of dollars doing that, again, I'm not saying they can't do it or they shouldn't do it, but I can still outline and observe
what happens in 10 years.
What's happening.
When your daughter is 17 or 18 or 19 years old.
No,
she goes
I
to
think,
college.
I hope
you may have your ground. Obviously, you and your
that
wife,
I raise them.
Fine. But
my future
she
kids.
comes out of college with a degree in liberal arts.
Well, I wouldn't.
Or whatever.
Hopefully that wouldn't happen either.
Whatever.
I've been through the system.
Right. Whatever it is, and comes up with a degree and joins the rat race. Everyone looking for a job. Because the good jobs are already done. Who went to Harvard and whose friend working on XYZ?
Okay, I don't have kids yet, so in 20 years, there won't be any jobs.
Well, then probably
That's another conversation.
Correct. Wouldn't be a need for jobs, right? So, and then she'll say, Sophie, wasn't it Sophie Rain? Megan Thee Stallion. No, I think she's a singer, whatever.
Billionaires by then.
Right. No, I'm going to go and do that. Similar to in Trinidad, right? When you're looking this way and is going to get a job at Massey or entry job at TSTT, or look over the corner and the fella there with a little gold necklace, too nice girl, a little BMW, and you're torn. What do?
I was talking to Cameron about that today.
Yeah, and when you taste,
it's too easy to look that way.
Of course.
And what makes it worse is that getting a job in this country is not exactly an easy feat.
Yes, but it's easy to look that way because when you look this way, there's fuck all.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't just mean jobs. I mean, there's nothing.
Opportunity
there's
for growth, for scale,
right.
for anything.
Right? Because income inequality is a natural state of the free market.
Yeah.
I have more money than you. Cameron have more money than me. Joe have more money than Cameron, and all the way up to Musk and whoever the case may be. It's a natural state of the free market. But opportunity inequality, that is bad.
Yeah.
When whether it's the color of your skin or whether it's the fact that you're a single parent and I think the old statistic in America was if you graduate from high school and don't have a child, right? Get a GED, don't have a child, be out of wedlock, and I think get married, and you're automatically in the top 4% of winners in America, right? So statistically, right? So whatever the reason is, but the opportunities just simply aren't there. No. So when you have maybe a political organization that says, you know what, we're going to take this system, we're going to shake it up. We're going to take, and I've seen people, Stephen, who have gotten a little $200,000 from their grandmother, some property died and property sold, and they started a business. And the business was so poorly run, they didn't understand setting up the business. They didn't understand taxes, they didn't understand duties, they didn't understand proper markup, how to cover you. They didn't understood nothing. And 2-3 months later, or 4 months later, they sold out the stock that they bought, they moved out, they lost their deposit in the landlord, whatever the case may be, the $200,000 is gone. And they look across the road at successful business and say, you know what? It's just not fair. Now, what have you done? What have you now created? An angry, bitter, and jealous individual. Right? That's bad news. So from our leadership, it happened. FCB was a state bank, right? It was a lot more developmental, right? But then 2005, 6, 7 came along. Republic started making, forget now, $2 billion, $1 billion a half year, right? 300-400 million, 500 million, RBC 600 million, FCB 180. So Manning said, no, let's go after this business. So FCB now became
Government
a
bank.
government owned, but a money center bank.
Yeah.
So now making $600 and $700 million, big bank. When these people, FCB should be a bank that is based, you can still go after your big business. Social development and business development. So when you get a loan now, you get a loan, you have business coaches.
Yes.
This is what you're going to do.
Yeah, the education is there.
And help you out with the business aspect. It's not just, and that way it's expansionary.
Yeah.
Right?
It scales.
Right? But now it's just a bank like anybody else. So there isn't even a bank. What do you want to go to? There one or two of them. You want to go on a small business loan? The SBI, really? Yeah. So we now lost our own way because we've all gotten overcome by money. So even the leadership decisions.
Well, government should never be in private sector industry.
No.
That is for absolute certain. You want to talk about the ultimate commingling of funds? That's it right there.
Well, because of the nature of our
governance,
whole development. Well, the governments and the hydrocarbons into where we are now. At the time, who was it? At the time, we had all this oil. Who was it? It's BP and Texaco and Tesoro and all these guys.
Shell and everybody.
Shell in the old days. And who's going to do it? Us, our fathers, other businessmen. What the hell we knew on energy? So you had one or two or three technocrats that came in that were here. You Ken Julians and those, right? Errol Mahabi obviously was Minister of Energy at the time. And these big, what they call MNCs, the multinationals came in, right? But the state. So basically, we're a rentier state. We basically, we don't know how to get that all out of the ground. We have no clue how to get it all out of the ground. So you bring someone and we say, hey, listen, here's this plot of land. Get as much oil as you can out of it, and then we'll just charge you a VIG. We're bookies. That's what we are. We're bookies. Take it out, but our VIG is 25%. Right?
But we don't spend to get it out of the ground.
No, but over the course of the years, we've now gotten into, Petrotrin,
right,
NGC, virtually all of which have gone the way of the swallow. I don't know what's happened with Heritage now, post, but the reality was we were a bookie. Now, the Saudis were bookies as well in the beginning, right? America said, listen, we'll come, we'll take all of the ground for you, we'll make you guys billionaires, money out of your wildest dreams, right? But they developed their country. You may not like how they developed it from the standpoint of their own religious dogma and orthodoxy, but the country is safe, it's incredibly developed, and now they said, right, we've set ours, and now we will consider, which they are considering, liquor in the hotels only.
Wow. Well, I guess that's how it starts.
Yes, right. Well, I think Dubai is the same, but Dubai is a little bit, you can't drink in the streets. There are restaurants and hotels, and you get your bar in your hotel room and everything else, right? And they develop themselves properly. What did we do? We did nothing.
Haphazard.
Nothing.
Drinking.
We stole half of it.
Drinking nips of puncheon at 7 a.m.
Yes, yeah. We stole half of the money.
Which I've witnessed way too many times.
We stole half the money, misappropriated the funds. There was no plan. There was nothing. So Trinidad was a bookie. Hey, I got some land, 50 acres, and they bid for the acres and say, right, whatever you get, 20% is mine. That's it. And you had a couple guys overseeing. No, obviously I'm embellishing it. It wasn't exactly as raw as that, but that's in reality what we are. It's called a rentier state, right? And I spoke with a professor from Utah called Hakan Yaguz. He wrote a brilliant book, and he actually gave it to me. The book is this thick. It's about the Ottoman state, which is very interesting, leading up to Erdogan now, who wants to bring back empire. And he said, yes, Trinidad, I've read about you. You're a rentier state. And I said, we're not a rentier state. I said, we're a bookie state. He said, and I told him how. He said, I love the concept. He said, this is true. Because rentier state means you rent the land out, and those multinationals pay you a rent.
Right. This is different.
Yeah, so I just made it, we're bookies. We weren't even as good to be landlords. We're bookies, right? Because whatever came out of that 20%, so if BG pulled up 2 million barrels, well, 4 million barrels was ours, at 15 or 20 US a barrel in those days, 80 million US, which is big money, right? We got that. Yeah, they took the risk, but we didn't know what they were selling downstream. God knows what their prices were. We weren't interested in what their business plan was.
Right.
We just knew we were getting X, right? So we were like bookies. So now you ask yourself, 40 years hence, Has anything changed?
No.
We're desperate now for Dragon, right?
Yes.
We begging anybody to come and say, come, look, VIG is low. And now we're forced to drop your VIG
Right.
to 5% and 8% to incentivize.
Is that where we are now?
I don't even know.
No? Okay.
I've gotten so disillusioned with the country.
Yeah.
I don't even follow anymore. But the point is now, the word is incentivization. Let's incentivize, which means let's drop your VIG.
Yeah.
Because you're fucked up for the last 40 or 50 years, right? We made some blue boys, yeah. Pretty money, yeah. It's pretty, a lot of blue. And you know, there's every nation's money now. It's just getting prettier and prettier. The parliament building, a bird, a color, because you have to look at it, right? This, do I even have any on me? This is my car, right? What is it? It's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's a transfer of debt. But you look at your money now, right? Every country has to have its own money, right? No, you don't. Bitcoin tells that to fuck off,
Well.
right? Right? Or value. Fuck off. You don't need to. But you look at your money and you feel a sense of patriotism. My money. Uncle Sam's. Benji's. Benjamin Franklin. It's a mind fuck.
I was consulting in 2018, blockchain consultancy, with Gabby and GT and Richard and Jeff and all those fellas. And we were advising dozens of companies during that year. And I remember telling over half of them, but do you need a token? Do you really need a token? And what I kind of started saying in all these calls is forced utility. So it's like you're forcing a type of utility just to have that token. And I mean, in some systems it can work. In some systems it doesn't. But if you really look at Trinidad and many other countries, not Trinidad is not isolated in this, but if you look at the TT dollar, do we really need our own currency?
Our currency is a mirage. It's a facade for the US dollar.
Yeah.
We are already dollarized. We price, if I told you, hey boy, I just got this new iPhone at whatever, Apple I in West Mall or whatever it is. How much you pay? $1,400. Oh God. Or 14,000. Ooh, 2,000 US. That's where it reach. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Our natural default
is US.
Is that.
Yes.
So the point is, in your mind, you've already dollarized.
Yeah.
And all the money that
and devalued to go along with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the black market now. I understand now it's $9, right, and soon to be. So the government has lost complete control of the currency, right? The point is they're there and it's being defended at 680. It's a political tool, political issue. They're not going to do it before the election, and whoever wins the election has to do it right away. And
nobody wants to do it right away.
Well, the point is
clearly because nobody's done it.
The PNM should have devalued in September of 2015. You could blame the last guy. You can tell them you have 5 years to make it a little bit better, but you have to have C.O. Joneses. You know what C.O. Joneses are?
Cojones.
Fucking hones, right? If my leaders have zero cojones, but we've allowed it. The only requirement, the only plan in our local election is to get back there in 5 years' time.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
And manage the inflow of money from oil and gas as best as you can.
As best, yeah.
Talk about this decentralization. I'm so into diversification. So you make it look like, well, we really do care. Have some committees here. Put somebody in the Ministry of Trade like Paula, who's very nice, and will meet with all the business people and get you one or two things done that are critical to get done. But nothing happens.
Yep.
Nothing changes. Nothing.
PNM, nothing happens. UNC,
they're the same.
Nothing happens.
They're the same.
You have in the United States, in the UK, you have the Conservatives and the Democrats. You have the Labour and the Conservatives, and the difference between them are fundamental policy differences. I believe this, and you believe pretty much the polar opposite on most things, almost by default. Party politics at play. What's the difference between the PNM and the UNC?
Black and Indian.
Nothing.
But black and Indian. That's really what it is. It's polarity. That's really what it is.
It's most certainly not policy because nothing happens.
It's race. I answered the question for you. I'm not going to be ashamed to say it. It's race.
Yeah.
But the difference in the rest of the world as well, the dilution now is getting so that the masses, right, the Colosseum, right? I remember, what was the quotation in
Bread and circles?
Yeah, but that was, no, the heartbeat of Rome is not the marble of the Senate, right? But it's the sand of the Colosseum. Juvenal was who said bread and circus, which is true. It's bread and circus, right? But the heartbeat of Rome is not the marble of the Senate, but the sand of the Colosseum. So the fact of the matter is, what you said there is right from the sand of the Colosseum. But the homogeneity of the leadership class this is what's happened.
Yeah.
They've melded themselves into one big, massive blob.
I think they know.
All of them.
I think they know and understand they need each other.
Well, of course they do.
For the continuation
Of
of
course,
the facade, the illusion.
Yeah,
The illusion of
continuity
choice.
of the racket, right? So Lindsey Graham, what a disgrace. I mean, he kisses ass. He's whatever. He will say the things that he needs to say because it's fodder to the base, right? But at the end of the day, Lindsey Graham, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Mays Heroni, Jim, they're all the same. And on the other side, I mean, look at Sunak, Keir Starmer, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss. I mean, Jesus, Lord, England, poor England. I mean, the Queen. I think the Queen said, fuck this. I ain't sticking around for this shit. I ain't sticking around. I mean, this thing is bad. It's bad. No, she also let it get bad. Because at the end of the day, you can't screw up my country unless I let you screw it up. Right? But they're all the same. Yeah. Look at the canon in Europe now. It's every single European leader against Putin. Save and apart from Viktor Orban. And one or two now after the Serbias and stuff. Starting to say, you know what? This is bullshit. Right? Now, they were forced. You're in NATO. You got to do as we say. Yeah. It's like this big group. Right? So, yes, there are...
It's international party politics.
Yes, correct. There used to be differences in the leadership class that represented the electorate. Now, you have the electorate on America on the two sides. But at the end of the day, I mean, I read today, and I don't read much because, quite frankly, anything comes out of the mainstream media, anything comes out of Hollywood, anything comes out of the sporting world, not interested. I'll make a bet, right? Because otherwise I can't really watch the game about one or two guys who I may like. But apart from that, to me, I have exited that world. I have no interest. I have not seen a movie in about 4 years. I saw Top Gun because I thought, you know what? The original Top Gun was so good. And Tom Cruise is back in it. Let me try it.
Yeah, he was good.
Right? Because he's a fucking legend, right? I love Tom Cruise, right? And I won't give my opinion, but I give the movie a 3 out of 10, right? Because you had your whole DEI woke bullshit, right? And it was predictable, right? But I read that it took a lot of coercing. But after there were 6 Republican senators who were against the appointment or the confirmation of Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, right? So, but eventually, I don't know what happened. They may have gotten the message, and eventually, it's said today that all of the Republican senators are now on board. So the point is, for a while, that leadership class were lockstep. Trump came along and said, "Listen, I won the House. We won the House. I won the White House." And a popular vote. I carried the party to Republican House, Republican Senate, state governorships, state legislature. I mean, it was now a landslide a la Reagan in 84 against Mondale, where he won 400 and 500.
He lost one seat.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Mondale's home state.
Right. It's the only one he lost, right? But this is a landslide in many different ways, right? But the point is, and did you hear about any of those guys during the campaign? Trump picked his people, Tulsi Gabbard. He picked 7 or 8 people that campaigned with him.
We're going to be part of the
out of. I mean, there are 499 congressmen.
Yeah.
There are 100 senators.
Yeah.
You have 600. That's 600 congressmen and women. Let's say 300 and 300. Trump had about 10 of them campaigning with him. That's less than 1%?
Yeah.
10% of 300 is 30. 1% of this is 3%. So the point is, you think those guys wanted Trump to win? They don't want anything to change. There's a great book called The Leopard by De Lampedusa. Spoke about during the Italian Renaissance, and he said, for things to change, they must first stay the same. It's a remarkable statement because nothing changes. They give you the illusion of change.
No.
And that's why Kamala lost so badly. Turn a new leaf. I mean, you were so self-absorbed and she was so lost. Turn a new leaf from who? From you? You've been there for 4 years.
Yeah.
They didn't even see the absurdity of what they were saying.
I think that they had to run with the new leaf, the new way, even though if you really took a step back and realized it would have been new, but you were there,
yeah.
but they had to run with it. What else would they have run with? Because you have to understand, their campaign wasn't about what they can do. It was about what Trump shouldn't be allowed to do.
Yeah.
So, and that, they made the mistake in 2016, when he was running against Hillary, and they basically propped him up in the media, hoping that he would embarrass himself.
Yes.
He did embarrass himself, but he also won the election as a result.
But think of all the free media he got.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they probably...
And he said a lot of stupid shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, the point is, he probably did. I mean, the point is, but
He definitely did.
yeah. But the point is, it's unfiltered, right? It's not.
But it wasn't my favorite campaign. I'll be honest.
No, this one was a much better campaign.
Yes, 2016. We had this conversation in 2016. You may not remember, where I said that he, it wasn't in 2016. I think it was more 2018. A couple of years into his first term, where I was saying, I want a president with a little bit more. I don't think decorum is the word, but with a little bit more, I don't know, put togetherness.
Yeah, statesman.
I want that in a leader.
Statesman-like.
I want that in a leader. I
agree.
But Trump is not that. He is a different brand of that, and he won it his way. You cannot argue because he won, and he was extremely successful in what he did.
Well, I think where the world is today, and I think one of the feeds, one of the posts on Twitter was the wrong guy for the. Not a supporter, so I would accept that he's the wrong guy he's the right guy for the wrong time.
Right.
But I think now where the world is, this is what you need.
I think so.
I think given ceteris paribus, everything is normal, and there's not many ripples, which is not really. I mean, the world now is on fire, right? And I think the world is going to be on fire for the next God knows how long. You need competent administrators who are going to come in there and understand public policy and public administration from I guess not just from an executionary perspective, from an orthodox perspective, right? You come in there and that's what we do, and you deal with business people and lobbyists, and you run the country like real like policy hacks, policy wonks, right? But I think now is different.
Well, I think fiscal policy shines.
Yeah.
People are talking about, I mean, this election probably was won on social policy and foreign policy, but we're talking about the Trump election, the Trump Kamala election, but campaign. But at the end of the day, it's really fiscal policy that's going to put us in a position to even do anything else. And that goes for the United States, that goes for the UK, that goes for Trinidad, that goes for everybody. I think fiscal policy is paramount to anything else right now, because people can't eat. There are people who cannot eat, who don't have jobs, who can't figure out their kids graduating. Tens of thousands of kids graduating every single year from universities all over the place that can't get jobs. There's somebody was telling me there's a doctor that's working, doing something. He graduated a few years ago, and he's like bartending.
Yeah,
and
but we have some Venezuelans.
Lawyers.
Lawyers.
That's scary. I think it was a lawyer actually that was bartending, because you can't get a job in a chambers. You can't go off on your own because that's costly and expensive, and you have to build up your clientele. Stuff.
But isn't it amazing that
fiscal policy?
Isn't it amazing that they gravitated towards a billionaire with his own 757 with gold-plated taps? I mean, the point is, and that's what has confounded everybody, right? But I can tell you, Trump is not anywhere remotely as bad as they make him out to be. Not even in the
I don't think so. Either.
lithosphere of where they're making it out to be.
I don't think so either.
And he was not in 20s. And quite frankly, this campaign was a lot tighter, a lot better run, right? Susie Wills obviously held that thing together, right? She's now Secretary, Chief of Staff. But I tell you something, 2016 was like Trump 1.0. That was the first. That was like the first. And let's say for a second that 2020 was not stolen, and I think it was, right? And people are like, "Oh, could it steal an election?" Oh, whatever. People do, illusion is a lot easier to digest than truth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we know that.
So the reality is, I will delve into the whole, and I have my reasonings, right? But I still think let's put aside that 2020 was let's say he lost legitimately. On that premise, 2016 was the debut. He was his debutante ball. And he came out and he won this election. Now the campaign was not. I agree with you. It was not conventional, but it was visceral. You felt it. I mean, you got it from down inside. The things that he said, the mistakes that he made. Right? And you said, you know what? Here is somebody that we think is going to be different. And he won the election. They laughed at him. As Candy said, they'll humiliate you. They laugh at you. And eventually you win. Right? And he won. And he said, not enough. We're not going to let him govern. Not let him govern.
Right.
And 4 years are not allowing him to govern. Then you had 2020. Well, people are like, holy shit. I mean, they said Trump was bad. Look at this train wreck that we're dealing with.
But I actually think that it worked out considerably to his advantage, Trump speaking, to have lost the 2020 election, to now be in power. Well, everything from perspective to positioning, I think that is something interesting to think about.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think now, but the problem is with now, you get in, well, you're not going to get Matt Gaetz because I think Matt Gaetz may have been a troll. Maybe he knew he was going to get Matt Gaetz and he wanted Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi was the Florida State Attorney General who he knew and strong conservative, big ally of Trump, right?
He followed a Machiavellian principle. If he did propose Gaetz, just so Gaetz could be ripped apart 36 hours later, so that they could just pull him out and say, oh no, well, this was the actual. Yeah. Then that's Machiavellian and brilliant.
And Matt Gaetz had to go along with it, and he probably knew. And these guys are playing chess.
Yeah,
they're playing chess.
Which is what when I say Machiavellian, that's really what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are playing chess, and I think now the risk that they took, right, is now Trump literally can shoot someone on the street and get away with it. And what I mean is now the team that he's going to put together is going to be...
he's already started.
Yeah. And plenty... And these women, he's a misogynist, 6 women in key positions.
I think it's undeniable that that the team that he's putting together, I think that's going to be his biggest strength the next 4 years, is the people that he puts around. We've seen it time and time again, here in Trinidad and Tobago. If the people around you are not the right people, things do not go very well. We've seen it. And so that's why I think that this round, he has, you put people in position that deserve to be there, that at least, maybe not, deserve is a strong word, but educated and informed in the various sectors that they're being placed in. That's important. Remember, I want somebody who's passionate about health, extremely passionate about health, to be the
RFK going to shake this shit up. It's unreal.
I want somebody who is passionate about value and understanding how Bitcoin and fiat currencies running a fiscal.
At least being open. Remember when we had? I'm sure you were when Mia spoke at our conference in 2019. She had just became prime minister. BIT's second or third annual Blockchain Meets Central Bank conference. And she came on and she said a lot of things. And she spoke exceptionally well. And then she said, if Bitcoin and blockchain are not the way of the future, then so be it. But if they are the way of the future, then so be it. And it was so simple. What she basically said was, I don't know. I have these young guys and Peter George and telling me, right, that bit, it's this, and the future of the world is X. I don't know. But I am not closed off.
No, you can't.
Right? I'm not closed off to exploring and giving them the latitude to say, okay, you have my government support. I mean, to a point.
Yeah.
It's not just
With the sandbox programs that
so
they
the
built.
sandbox,
I remember
right?
that. I remember that
So
very
the
well.
point is, you have to be open. So the reality is now, you have to be open to say, okay, Bitcoin. Now, Trump exploited the single issue voter in a way I've never seen done before. You have single issue voters. I don't care about anything but Bitcoin. I don't care about anything but reproductive rights. Right? And Trump said, okay. And then some people, I don't care about anything, but I really need a part of citizenship. Okay. Go to university in America, get a degree, and you get a green card. How brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's his idea or one of his, but what a brilliant. You come to America, you learn Western civilization and Western society. You spend 4 years or postgrad 6 years, and when you consider it with the in-betweens, maybe 7 years in America, you're paid to go to that school because you're a foreign student. You may have gotten some foreign aid, or you may have gotten the roads, or whatever the case may have been. You spent money in America. You met a nice American girl or American fella, right? Whatever your fancy is. You ate Burger King and McDonald's and so on and so forth. You understand American football and LeBron James, right? And you get your degree. Why leave? Why leave?
Yeah.
The ones who are going to leave are leaving anyway. But there are so many of those who want to stay. So you sent a message. First, it was a brilliant idea. And second of all, you said, I may be an anti-immigration hawk, but that's for illegal immigration.
Yeah.
You come to America as a meritorious immigrant, and you get a college degree, I've given you a green card, no questions asked. Right? So it all ties into his ultimate plan of making America great again. Because part of making America great again is immigration. But immigration for the right people.
And education. It actually,
Well, of course.
it seems like
so
he's
imagine you come, they get the education, and you give out 75, 80, 100,000 green cards a year to college graduates who want to stay in America.
I mean, that could be
build a business.
That's incredibly productive for the economy.
The next Zuckerberg, the next whoever, or not even that level, the next person that builds a business that has 300 employees. That's anything.
That's Canada's immigration policy.
Yeah, well,
for the last, they stopped it now, but
Yeah.
because they realized that you can't do it haphazardly. You have to do it. Things need to be done strategically and with a plan.
Yeah, but I think it'll take some time for Trump's plan to work itself out. I mean, I don't know, but the point is, all of those ideas. So there is a sense of cohesion into the things that he does, and they sit there, The View and Sunny, whatever. They just don't. They're so blinded that they don't even have the time to look and say, "Hang on a sec, let me see if what this guy is doing. Let me just sift through and see if what he is doing makes sense." Then you have jackasses like Mooch Scaramucci and Mark Cuban. Well, he done. He's, thank you, Lord, he's gone. That said, he's just lazy. Trump is lazy. I mean, call Trump 100 fucking things. But you call the man lazy? The man is 78 years old, doing four rallies a day, plus going to court and winning an election. Lazy? Who the fuck are you, Mark Cuban? You sold broadcast.com to Yahoo for $4.5 billion, which was called one of the top 5 worst tech transactions ever. The man got a golden fucking ticket and then bought the Mavericks and now sold some of it to, I think it's to Adelson, whoever it is, bought into his, right? What have you already done? But we put all this merit on money, on these millionaires and billionaires. Mark Cuban?
Yeah.
You tell me what, Shark Tank?
Money and access seem to be revered in the
is,
wrong ways for the wrong reasons.
Boss, give me Trump 7-8 days a week. He's a fighter. He's a scrapper. He doesn't play by the Marquis of Queensberry rules. There are no 10-second lockdown. You bring a knife, you bring in a gun. Right? And if I'm representing the United States of America and I go into Putin or I go into Xi or I go into whoever it is, I go in strong.
Yeah.
I'm going strong. Right? And I actually saw a clip today of Ayn Rand Obviously, I mean, Atlas Shrugged probably is a seminal work, right? And you should look it up. And they asked about would there ever be a time? This is probably about 1978, 80, whenever it was, and said, would there ever be a time there's a female president in America? And she said, I don't know, but I won't vote for her. And the crowd was Phil Donahue show. And some of the ladies in the show started to get, and she said, even if the woman was eminently qualified and more qualified than the man, and she said something very succinct. She said, I don't think it is best suited for a woman to be in charge of men in that way. And she kind of got pilloried by one or two of the ladies there. And so what you're saying is, whatever the case may have been. And she said, no, I mean, as a commander-in-chief of an army, as a woman, she just said, I just do, I mean, and it was remarkable. It was remarkable that she had said that as a woman, because I thought I would look at her but she's practical. And if you say that I don't think there should be a female president, right? Well, you're a sexist. I mean, you're gone. You can't say that publicly now, right? No, Ayn Rand said it in 1970, whatever it was, on Phil Collins. Times were different back then.
Phil Donahue.
Phil, what did I say?
Phil Collins.
Phil Donahue.
Love Phil Collins.
Yeah. So the point is, and I feel the same way, simply because men and women aren't equal. Men and women's roles are equal. Their importance are equal in a partnership. There's no question about it. The things that my wife is far more important than me on, but we're not equal. And that doesn't mean they can't do what we do. I'm not saying it in a chauvinist way. Have the ability to see through the bullshit and have a fucking conversation, right? Right? Women are more emotionally compromised than men. When you see 50 horses charging at you with bayonets, right? You and I will say, Steve, take a bongs. I hope my kids okay. God, take care of my kids. I love you. And we're going to fucking charge and probably die. It's just different. Physiologically, we're different. So don't try and clam jam free the comment. And that's not what it is. But now, anytime you oppose what is that big bagel that's floating out there as mainstream, well, you're Hitler, you're a racist, you're a sexist. If you simply don't agree,
yeah.
I mean, listen.
Which is scary.
It's
scary.
It's unhealthy.
Well, yes.
And now it hasn't happened here yet. It's beginning to kind of happen a little bit here, right? And we need some modernizing in many regards. But the fact of the matter is, the time has come, and he's gotten the ability to pick his team. But remember, the system in America is fantastic. That federalist system. You want your presidency? Here you go. Pick your cabinet. Go pick whoever you want. It has to pass through us at the end of the day. And even if you have a majority, right? Not always, because the difference is, in America, the people pick their Congress.
Right.
In Trinidad, the political leaders pick it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very possible in Trinidad, if we had a federalist system and the members of parliament had to vote or don't vote for cabinet members. No, we don't have that. It's free rank. We basically give you the trophy and said, here you go. Do as you please with the country. Pick who you want. Pick who you want. You're king. Keith Rowley, if I see him, I haven't seen the Prime Minister in quite some time, I'll say, Your Majesty, how are you? And whoever wins the next election, whether it's Kamala or who, Your Majesty, how are you? That's what we should do, Your Majesty. Because that's what we've done. They pick them. But in America, so Pete Hegseth, Matt Gaetz got the message very clear. Trump got the message. He's not making it through confirmation. There are too many red flags. It's not happening, right? Because I may be a congressman in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is or Virginia, right? Which is a Democrat state, but I'm a Republican. I got through in the Senate. I want to get reelected. I have presidential aspirations of my own. And I hang down here. Matt Gaetz? No way. We don't like that guy. So you're not going to get all, right? So they got the message very clearly. But here's the front.
Yeah.
You pick Matt Gaetz, it's everybody, yeah. You didn't even ask, are there any nays? I'm not going to ask for years. Are there any nays? And you might hear, all right, 24 to 1, it's over. But there.
Well, we need reform, that's for sure.
But we need more than reform. We need Jesus. We need major help. And we need big mirrors for us to look at.
Yeah.
And say, I'm going to fix it. Right? And every time we have a show like this, I used to go on TV, right? People come, God boy, form a party. We're so desperate. And I'm like, I don't want no part of politics, retail politics in Trinidad. I don't. Right? If I won a lottery and I had $5 billion and I was bulletproof.
Oh God, I will do plenty of things.
I
don't think I would take the Trump route on what you're saying. I don't think I would go that route.
I can win. You can win. When I say one can win an election here very, very easily. People want hope. They want hope. They want inspiration, and they want a plan. We have never
And a catchy song.
Yeah, well, the catchy song is not. As a matter of fact, I still sing that song sometimes. We love you so we take good care of you. Only the PNM understand. What a great song! It's a great song, right?
We're part of the new. I'm part of the new. Even despite the gray hairs,
okay.
let's do this.
Well,
let's do
let's do this.
Let's do. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I had people call me and say that song won the election, and I'm like, what an indictment on the country. A song won here, but we will rise in it as well, right?
Yeah.
With Rojas. I mean, what a great song. I mean, we will rise. Your hairs, your paws raised, right? We will rise. Turn the pages of our history. Change the courses of our lives. We will rise. And again, that's a human nature, right? Because human beings, that's what we are. We are emotional animals, right? 0.00001% of the world become emotionally detached, but the rest are very emotional. You hear a song. I mean, how many times the great people in the world, who are the ones that really make you go, boy, amazing? The ones who've had real hardship, real tragedy. People who's lost a child. And you hear stories of Harriet Tubman sneaking people underneath the Southern Railroad to get them away from persecution. And Desmond Doss, the fellow who remember they did the movie about him. He was a doctor in the army. He wouldn't take up a weapon.
Andrew Garfield played Doss.
Right.
Yeah.
Desmond, he saved hundreds of people. Or when someone goes through real tragedy, and you say, "Shit, boy," and there's a real human connection to say, unbelievable how this person has gotten back on their 2 feet with everything stacked against them. Those people are the ones that really make you say, wow. Right? And then unspeakable tragedy, losing a child or losing an entire family in a car accident.
Rough.
Right? And you tell yourself, boy, unbelievable. And you see that person with a level of respect and admiration that is unspeakable. It's unwritable in words. You don't feel that way about any businessman or Buffett or any of them, even Musk. That's an admiration of an accomplishment, right? So the point is, that type of inspiration, right? Where is it in Trinidad? We need hope, we need inspiration, we need a plan. We have never had any of the three. Certainly not in tandem.
No.
Never, ever, 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 ever. And we sit there and we're proud and we paint our faces up and we go to football games and we do all of these things. And
so
it's just remarkable.
Starting a political party.
You know, I mean, that's the thing. We're desperate. It's like, you know, crawling through the desert, and you see a mirage up ahead, and you crawl, sweating, and you're dying, and you get there, where you see what looks like a pool, and you get there, and it's a mirage, and you drink the sand, because that's all that's there. That's all that's there. And you sit there and you think, oh, you're a romantic. I am a man. I'm a romantic. I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm a true philosophical libertarian. Right? I mean, empowering people, and that's what Bitcoin to me. Like, you know, people call me 100,000. I'm like, yeah, whatever. What do you mean? I'm not excited. Bitcoin has already liberated my mind and it's already liberated me.
That's a good point. That's a good way to put it.
It's done. I'm not going to be more liberated at 200,000 or 2 million. I'm already fucking liberated. Right? I am. I mean, COVID, unfortunately, threw me back into this business world where, I mean, massive losses. And I mean, and I call me a credit. I did it because of my staff. I called my father about 2/3 of the way through COVID and said, one more month and I'm done. Throwing in the towel, shutting the whole thing down for good. He was like, what? I said, yeah, I was done. I was done. Right? And I was giving it all up. Right? And that was probably November, December of 21. And then January 22, people are like, they really were like, enough is enough. And then I think May of 22, it finally ended.
Yeah.
But I was done. I was done. Shut it down. Sell everything. Shut it down. Go home. Everybody go home. I am done. I am done.
And your staff is what kind of...
It's the only
That was
reason.
that's what prevented you from
Yes.
doing it in the first place.
Yes. And you can ask any one of them, right? And it's not public. What we did, what we went through together, the calls that I got, right? And the point was, it was, you'll never walk alone. And at that point for me, I was like, I have a bigger responsibility than keeping this business open.
Yeah.
I was wanting the 250 people that work with me to make sure
to keep their families fed.
make sure they see the other side of this shit.
Yeah.
And once they get to the other side of this shit, I couldn't give a fuck. And that's the God's honest truth.
No.
People would not believe, and that's the God's honest truth. Get them to the other side, right? Once I've done that, it's over. I reached that stage. Right?
And I'm sure you've seen, you've capitalized off of that relationship building, because ultimately that is what it is.
Yeah,
that is a further relationship building. I know that you've had people working with you
20
decades.
Years, yeah. It's 20 years that and the guys who were in it and the girls who were in it from the beginning. And then when the time was like, boss, what are we doing? Let's go. LFG, let's fucking go. Right? But the point is, it's thrown me back in, but I'm liberated. I'm mentally liberated. I'm spiritually liberated. Right? And like I said, okay, at Bitcoin 2 million, I'll be a wealthier man than I am. But I'm not going to be more liberated.
That would be awesome.
Sure, it'll be awesome. But that's the liberation that guys like us want. You know how much Bitcoin I've given away over the years. Given away.
You told me that 2 weeks ago. In terms of just the times when Bitcoin was worth nothing, and it's like gifts and
nothing.
Well, when I say compared to now. And that's quite impressive.
And sold to people who really wanted it. I was like, hey, I'll sell you at cost. When it was still a 10% vig just to get Bitcoin, right? But the point is building the community. I genuinely want people to feel that liberation. I really do.
Yeah, same, actually.
I really would. You do too. I mean,
I've introduced so many people, and I guess being part of the consultancy firm that we started, we ran for a year and a half. It put me in touch in front of a lot of people who wanted to learn about cryptocurrency and blockchain and Bitcoin, and I became kind of like a de facto educator. Yeah. And it's. I mean, I was doing it before with my friends who would come over in 2015 and 2016. I wanted to know, you're mining Bitcoin, you're mining cryptocurrency. I was like, yeah. They were like, okay, we're coming over to Lime. We want to hear about it. And a lot of my friends, because I think that's what it's about. I was told about it. I was introduced to Bitcoin by Gabriel Abed out of Barbados back in 2011. He first spoke about it with us, and one of the uncles looked at me and said, why you want to get involved with this thing? And I said, I don't understand it, but I know I don't want it to pass me by.
That's when you do it. When those guys tell you don't, that's when you know you have to do it.
If I'm
not in a bad way.
No, of course not. But if what I'm saying does not confuse or scare half the people I'm telling it, I'm not on the right track. And I've been saying that for years, because I've realized it kind of goes back to the you might as well dream big. Because why are you going to dream small? Why are you going to dream about a 10-foot boat when you could dream about a 50-foot boat or a 100-foot boat? You see, I limited myself already. Why dream about small? Just dream big.
Well, Nicholas Gomez Davila, a fantastic quote. I distrust any idea that does not seem grotesque to my contemporaries.
There you go.
Right. So when everybody's like, oh, there's it, I distrust it. And the point is, at the time, anybody who said, right, I distrust, if it doesn't seem grotesque to you, I distrust it. But because Bitcoin was grotesque, you trusted it.
No.
Right? So
it was out there. It was against the grain.
Well,
it was
yes.
it was scary.
No, but if you just read it, and I have the final paragraph, which I'd love to read, but it'll be too hard to find, of the Bitcoin of Satoshi's white paper. And that's what hammered it home for me. And I hadn't met Gabriel
I'll put it
yet.
up. We'll put it up.
We'll
I'll
put it
let
up,
Cameron
yeah,
put it
just
up. At the
yeah,
end of the
yeah,
episode, it'll fade from this
yeah.
into that. So I think might not be a good time to wrap up, but that would be I think that'll be a good end.
And for me, it was Max Kaiser. Max Kaiser was who got me into Bitcoin. I was hustling Bitcoin on Mt. Gox, 30 and 40 euros a day.
When it, but this
It
is
was already $150. And
when it you were involved when it.
I lost money in Mt. Gox.
Wow.
I mean, nothing. 300 euros. I didn't know what private. I was just Bitcoin. It was there, and I would log on, and I would see it there, and then one day it was gone, and it was locked, and I lost this. And then I spoke to a mutual friend of ours, Wade, and we actually were at dinner one night. Three of us and three of our wives, all non-Bitcoin guys. This is 2000, probably late 16, and we were talking business and blah blah blah. I was still in the matrix, right? I was still at the bank and the this and the that and shoot me in the head. But I'd already began my little Bitcoin journey, and I hadn't gotten too deep spiritually. And they talked about this. I said, what about, and they talked about stock or this or bond, whatever. And I said, well, Bitcoin. And he said, I was like, excuse me? I was shocked that he was like.
That he knew about Bitcoin.
And
he was
liked
positive about it.
And I told him, and he said, listen, I have to put you on to this guy called Gabriel. Right? Because I was getting shit, 1 Bitcoin, half a Bitcoin, a quarter of a Bitcoin here. Right, and then I met Gabriel, and he put me on to a guy called Bill Brindise from Digital Asset Management, and Bill was selling. Well, there was an OTC desk, and there also was one with oh God, what's the name of that OTC desk? Cumberland with is it Eric Wu? I don't know what his name was, and that's how I started buying Bitcoin in meaningful volume. And I remember once after I had finished. Bought all the Bitcoin I could have bought with the money that I had at the time. And then Bill called me up and said, listen, I have a guy who wants to sell 2,500 BTC.
2,500 BTC.
It was $400. $400 for one. So you're looking at what? Is that $1 million? 400. Yeah,
I think so.
It's $1 million US. 2,500 BTC.
Million US.
Right. And I said, Bill, so and so. He said, listen, the guy doesn't want to break. He wants it one shot, one transaction, bam. He doesn't want sell. He said, so you have till tomorrow. If you find somebody, 2,500 BTC at 400.
Wow.
I said, okay. So I called a couple of people who had already put in. And they were like, well, I said, listen, you have until tomorrow. I think this, and the price was locked in at 400. Because in those days, if it went to 410 or 412, you couldn't sell 2,500 Bitcoin that easily in those days. There was no Kraken and Binance and Gate and Hitbit. They didn't have that.
Coin and Kraken.
Yeah. It was OTC. You had to find a guy who wanted to buy it and who could give you a check or bring you a bag of cash. That's really how it worked, right? So eventually, a couple of guys, and you would know who they are. I ain't gonna call no names. They kind of crapped out, and I called my father, and I said, "Dad, so and so is the case." He said, "Well, how much Bitcoin have you?" Because he knew. He said, "How much you bought?" And I said, "I bought so far. I have." He goes, "That's enough. It's a Ponzi scheme, son. This is going nowhere. You're gonna throw away your money." And I was like, "Okay." So I called Bill. I said, "Bill, I can't get any takers.
Too rich."
Less than 2 weeks later, it was 900. Less than 2 weeks later. No, it was still hard to offboard. Right?
Yeah.
Cumberland had some decent size on the bid and ask side. Yeah. But yeah, there's dozens of those stories. But some guys got in. Yeah, some guys got in to make money.
That's for sure.
Some guys got in for making money. And listen, am I thrilled about Bitcoin 100,000 from financial aspect? Of course, I'm happy about it. But I'm indifferent because to me, right? And I said this on my first interview with the same girl, Asha Javid. If Bitcoin goes to zero tomorrow, this was when it was 2,200. If it goes to zero tomorrow, I would be less upset at the financial loss than I would be that the mission is over.
The mission's over.
And you say that in this world, people find out they think I'm a businessman and I like nice cars and I open in restaurants or whatever the case is. I do that. It's bullshit.
The money should be the bottom line.
And they think it is the bottom
and forever.
Line. And it's hard for them to understand. And that was the case. And the beauty with Bitcoin now for me is that the fucking mission is alive more than ever. And there's going to come a time.
And the mission is there. Everybody understands it.
Yeah.
The people that didn't understand it before. I have my friends in New York who sold Bitcoin at 30,000, saying that they made a mistake.
You need those guys too. I mean, listen, always leave some meat on the bone for the next guy.
Yeah.
And the guys are going to sell at 100,000 and think they did really well, and then that guy's going to buy it and get it to 200,000.
Yeah.
This Bitcoin is never going to stop going up. Is it going to? Will it retrace?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Bitcoin, and I'm saying, Bitcoin will never stop going up, ever, ever. Put it that way. Here ends the lesson.
Thanks, Pete.
Are we done?
We're done.
My mouth is fucking dry.